CBR TV. I'm Jonah Weil, and in the Speakeasy, sitting to my right, is one of the stars of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan. Thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Put my phone down there. My pen down. Before we start, everybody who comes to the Speakeasy gets a gift, and you get one too. So
really?
Are you ready?
Okay.
You get your own CBR cowbell.
Cowbell?
You get a cowbell.
No way. That's pretty fun. Thanks.
So when you, hopefully not during this interview, but your next interview you do, because I know you got a million of these to do.
I'll be using it.
Yeah, if you have a question you don't like, yeah, come on. All
Please
right.
Stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's good.
Awesome.
So now you're
Thank
set. So first off, thanks for coming in today, because I know last night was the premiere. Right. And I've been to a few premieres in my lifetime, and I know how crazy they get. I am excited to see you are alive and cheerful and bright, because sometimes those premieres can go bad.
Look, it's a sunny day in LA. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Any fun stories from last night? Because that's kind of like the pinnacle of all this stuff for you.
Well, those things are always a little sentimental and a little bit nostalgic as well, because you see everybody and you sort of feel like, wow, you kind of feel like you've arrived at some quote-unquote ending, even though with Marvel sometimes it tends to be new beginnings. But it's just great to see everybody, and it's nice to be together, and it definitely helps when you can celebrate a movie that you're proud to be in. and I felt everyone was on that page.
You talked about with Marvel it can be new beginnings, and I think that particularly applies to your character. Bucky Barnes in the first movie is nothing like Bucky Barnes in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Bucky Barnes will probably be nothing like that character in upcoming movies. I know you've got a 9-picture deal. Talk about, though, when you started, because I met you on the set of the first film, and everybody was asking you, do you want to be the Winter Soldier? Do you want to become Captain America and all that kind of stuff? And at the time, you're like, look, they haven't told me anything. I know that that's a possibility, but did that knowledge inform the way you approached Bucky in the first film?
Well, first off, I don't know anything ever. I really don't. I mean, I very much operate on a phone call basis. If they need me, I'm there. I'm good to go. I love the character. I'd be ready to play it tomorrow, whichever way they wanted to do it. As a transvestite, great. I'm down. Like, let's do Bucky that way. But no, I needed to read the comics and sort of just like really get the arc and know as much as I could before the first film, and just for that purpose, I was educated on it. But I had no idea how they're going to take it on screen. I had no idea at the time, so I just kind of went with the flow.
Okay. In this new movie, the evolution of the character is pretty extreme, almost in the opposite direction. You've got a mask on, you've got this big costume on. As an actor, that had to be a huge challenge. I've talked to actors who've worked behind masks. Hugo Weaving in V for Vendetta, he talked about his physicality having to be something new for him. When you started making your choices and you were breaking down the script, what were those choices you made, and how did you have to approach it differently than any other role you've had in your career?
Well, I think the costume really helps. I think it helps when you can sort of not recognize yourself when you look in the mirror. And this was one of those situations where the character had such a specific look where I didn't really, and with the mask, I didn't really feel like myself. I didn't recognize myself to some extent. And so some of the things that you rely on as an actor sometimes to go to, because they work, were kind of stripped away from me. And so it was actually it was a benefit for me in the long run, sort of having that costume and the mask and everything.
Did you learn something about yourself as an actor because of this film, maybe?
Yeah. Don't worry, you've still got plenty of ways to go. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, you have to. You're always chasing something. God, now I'm quoting Matthew McConaughey. I mean, I really don't, but yeah. But he really had a point. I mean, it's the truth. You're just, you never. I don't feel like you ever arrive at a place necessarily that's sort of going to define everything. And I think that's one of the good things about it.
This role is, I don't know if restrictive is the right word, certainly reserved in terms of the words.
I'll help you out. You know what I tell people?
What do you
I'm
say?
finally in a silent film.
Okay, so you're in your first silent film here.
I know. I was like, I always wanted to be in a silent movie, and I am.
Does that,
Yeah,
look, I know many actors. I worked with actors, and each role tends to bring out maybe a different insecurity or a different emotional thing. Did this movie change you in any kind of way, or did you learn stuff about yourself?
Well, I think the physical sort of aspect of it really affected my life.
Yeah, because almost every scene you're in a big action scene.
Well, even that, but just sort of like trying to get in shape and stuff for like 6 months prior. The diet and sort of the whole sleeping schedule and working out and everything. I mean, you're having to eat at 3 p.m., 5 p.m., 7 p.m., 10 p.m. You know, you're not sort of, you can't go to a restaurant and sort of just sit down and have a meal while your friends are just enjoying amazing pasta and everything around you. And so your life changes a little bit. So that was the most, that had the most effect on me in terms of a change.
There was a bit of personal sacrifice, as there is with many roles.
Yeah, but when you're doing it for a good reason, it's all good.
That's true. You talked about doing your research when I met you on the set of the first one. You were talking about reading the comics and kind of getting into the character. But this was all something that came to you later in life. You grew up in Romania until you were 12, or Vienna, and you were born in Romania. You grew up in Vienna.
Yeah.
So did this stuff come easily for you? Because I've talked to a lot of people over the years who say when they start reading a comic in like their teens or late 20s or something like that, it takes a while for them to understand the language, because it is a different type of thing.
Yeah, no, this came pretty easily. I mean, I thought I was, I don't know, I was really into it. Again, it was very new for me, but I gained an appreciation about the comics, and I just kind of went with it. The whole thing is just a new experience, and so you just kind of jump in the water, so to speak.
You have one scene in the film with Robert Redford.
Right.
I mean, this man is Hollywood royalty. He is a legend. The creator of the Sundance Film Festival. There's so many things that we could bring out of his resume and talk about here. You're a relatively new actor. You've been at it since you were a kid. But in terms of your career taking off, I'd say it's been about 5-6 years now for you.
Yeah.
What was that experience like, and what kind of actor was Robert Redford for you?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that he really, for me, he really treated me as an equal on set, which was, I came in with sort of this whole perception that I knew who he was in the movies. I mean, I love The Sting and a lot of movies that he was in, and I don't know, sometimes when you're around those actors, they like their privacy, they like to be a certain way, and you want to respect that. But he was so giving, he actually was very engaging, and I got to talk to him, I got to ask him questions about like Natalie Wood and just like
really?
The 1950s and Paul Newman and theater, and so it was, I was pretty amazed because he was very giving.
Nervous at all going into it?
Absolutely, but any nerves in that situation actually worked to my advantage because of, again, like you just take anything you can grab to just translate it to the screen. Sure. So it's just his presence and the character that he was playing and our relationship in the film, the dynamics actually translated well from life to screen.
I know they didn't let you do a lot of your own stunts or anything like that, but it's still a very, very physical role. Was there ever a moment where you were just overcome physically? And also emotionally too.
Well,
two different
it was really tough with the mask for sure because it was June, July. I mean, we were out in the sun. The costume was really constricting. It was very heavy. The mask. I mean, the breathing was really hard.
Really?
Yeah, couldn't breathe after some of those fight sequences. But again, I mean, it's just one of those things. You just go. The adrenaline takes over. You just go.
When you were growing up, you did some acting at school and like elementary, primary school and stuff like that, and you went off to college. Remind me where you went.
Rutgers.
Rutgers,
Yeah.
That's right. But you studied at the Globe Theatre in London for a year.
Yes.
So take yourself back to that time. You're doing your hardcore training. You're really getting into it and trying to set up your career. What did you envision for yourself as an actor at that time? What kind of roles were you thinking you'd be playing, or hoping you'd be playing?
I mean, I didn't really. I don't think you can, at least for me. At the time, and still to this day, my approach was always, and still is, sort of one day at a time. I mean, this is where I'm at. I'm enjoying doing this, and if ever comes a time where the fun is out of it, then I'll do something else. So I was just having a good time learning and kind of like experiencing, and so I didn't really think too much about the future. I'm still like, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but here I am. So it, in a way, kind of worked for me, and so that's my approach to it.
You've done TV work, you've done a film, you're now an action star. when you were studying, did you gravitate towards more dramatic roles, comedic roles? Was there anything that you had a preference on?
Well, first of all, I was really obsessed with Jim Carrey when I was growing up.
Really?
Jim Carrey was a big thing of me wanting to act. Yeah, I mean, I was imitating Ace Ventura and everything he did, Dumb and Dumber, and
Were you
I'm
talking
still
out your ass too, doing that thing, bending over, and doing all that?
I love that sequence in Ace Ventura when he's in the mental hospital. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, so in a sense, comedy was always something I gravitated to. It's not something I've gotten a chance to do, but it's on my radar. Hopefully the opportunity will come because I don't know if it helps to say that I think I'm funny, but I don't know. Everything I do, in my head seems to be funny sometimes. So we'll see. But comedy's always been interesting to me.
Did you get to perform at the Globe Theater? I've been there. I've seen 2 performances there, and it's pretty amazing because it's outdoors. The elements are happening around you, and you've got the groundlings down there.
Yeah, it's really it's a strange experience because there's actually one point on the stage where you can stand and you can whisper, and the whole place it will echo everywhere. You can talk so quietly, and everyone will hear you in that space, which is amazing about the way that it was designed. We did 12th Night over there, and we had Mark Rylance as an artistic director at the time, and Mark Rylance has gone on to do all these amazing productions on Broadway, and he's in movies, and he's just one of those actors that everybody wants to, follow and emulate. So it was a great experience. Yeah.
As I finish up here, whenever I do an interview in here, I want to find out something a little bit more about whoever I'm interviewing. And before the cameras were rolling, you brought up something, and I said, we need to talk about this on camera because you lit up when you started talking about this. Something you said you were basically obsessed with, and I'll let you run with it from there. I won't tease it, but something you've become really fascinated by.
Well, we were talking about the concept of singularity and the Kurzweil documentary, and I was just saying, and I was sharing with you how this sort of idea of technology kind of running ahead of us and in terms of just rapidly progressing and us getting to a point of somewhere having to merge with it or kind of decide to be against it. And just this sort of thing in terms of the way we communicate now, it's just easier through text sometimes than calling and hearing each other's voices. And so the singularity is, anyway, just talks about that, and so it's just something that I geek out about.
But it is a major change.
Because I feel like we're moving towards that to some
are.
extent. So I'm curious how that's going to shape up.
Well, and it seems to me, and I've read a couple stories about this, how they say how technology is affecting us socially, and that there's a claim that it's making humans less empathetic. I don't know if that's true, and I don't know how you exactly measure that, but it does seem, especially if you look at like online conversations, and how they react to, whether it be celebrity news or political news, that it's quick reaction first, emotional responses of an empathetic style second. And I think that has a lot to do with this connectedness that we've got.
Well, absolutely, but also, like you said, listen, we have impulses right away. We feel certain things at certain times immediately, and then we might not feel them like 10 minutes later. But now we have access to sort of communicating that right away. So that's why sometimes you get some of these tweets that are so mean, or I don't know. But it's just, again, this is where we're at. This is how we're communicating. So how do we adapt to that?
Yeah, I guess it's not worth fighting against. It's what's here, and it's just a matter of finding a new way of utilizing it. Because I think we're still applying old ways.
Which is why the movie Her was such an incredible movie. I felt, because it was really realistic to me. I just felt, how could you not want to have that, sort of right there in your hand, a personal relationship that you can go to? It was just an amazing movie.
Cool. I can't let you go without asking, do you think you'll be back on Once Upon a Time?
I don't know. I really don't know.
No phone calls yet?
No phone calls, yeah. No, I have no idea.
I know our staff was really, they liked you as Mad Hatter, and that had to be a lot of fun to play.
I had a great time. I mean, that's such a cool character, and like I said, those guys just kind of reinvented all those stories, and it was a great thing to be a part of, but I have no idea.
Well, good luck. You've got 7 more movies to make with Marvel. You've got a lot of things going for you right now.
Knock on this piece of wood.
Hey, welcome to the Marvel Studios universe. This is a pretty exciting time for you, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thanks very much. It was a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you, man. He's Sebastian Stan. I'm Jonah Weiland, and this is CBR TV.